What's really good, fam? Let's just get straight into it. If you're paying with a card in Korea, there are a few words you need to know, so today that's what we'll be talking about. You're watching Sekki들, and today we're talking about lump sum and split payments. Now, before we continue, we'd just like to remind you that this channel is meant for general education purposes only and isn't meant to replace the legal or financial advice from a paid professional. When it comes to investment, it's always healthy to take everything with a fair bit of skepticism regardless of the source, and that includes us, so for that reason, nothing we say here should be taken as a basis for investment, and you'll have to do your own work and thinking to decide whether or not listening to us is a good or bad idea. Want to know how? Well, if you scroll down a tiny bit, hit the like and subscribe buttons, we'll do our best to help you figure out how to figure out this game for yourself, and with that being said, let's just get to it. Alright, so one of the biggest benefits of having a card is the option to make split payments. As it sounds, this means that you'll just take the amount that you owe for buying an item or a few items and split it into monthly payments from anywhere between 2 to 12 months depending on the seller. Now most of the time, particularly when you're not using a card, you'll be making straight up payments that you all pay for at one time. The word for this in Korean is 일시불. If you're paying debit, chances are that's pretty much the only option you'll be able to take. Now, before I actually get into it, it's important that we understand the nature of split payments. I'm beginning to find that a large number of the people that watch my videos are really just at the beginning of their financial journey. Many still are going through their first experience with credit cards, and those of us with relative know-how also know how dangerous some quote-unquote credit card benefits can be. When it comes to personal debt, both revolving payments and split payments lead the pack when it comes to the sneakiest of killers, so I want to break this one down. So 할부 or split payments work like this. Basically, customers go to the store and choose a few items to buy. At the cashier, they pay credit. The total price of the purchase goes onto the card, and the customer pays back that total to the card company over the course of a predetermined time. This is how credit cards work generally, and it's pretty much the same thing, except that in this case, instead of having to pay the entire sum at the end of the month, you just pay a fraction of the price 2 or 3 times in the future. Often, merchants and card companies will team up and let you do an interest-free split, referred to in Korean as 무이자, which gives you the ability to stretch your debt for free. This ultimately ensures that you have more money in your pocket in the short term, and it eases the burden of, say, a sudden 300,000 won purchase by splitting it into maybe 3 payments of 100 over 3 months. Now, having that extra 200k in cash is great because you can really do anything with it. You can put it in your liquid savings account and gain interest on it. You can save it for any short-term emergency purchases if that's a place that you're in your life right now. You can even just keep it in your emergency account in case of any sudden expenses, and if there are none, take it out and use it to pay off the monthly splits as usual. There really are a number of ways to use split payments to your advantage since it frees up your cash in the short term, and at the end of the day, cash is king. Anecdotally, actually, there was a key split payment moment I saw last month when I was checking out of the hospital. I had the cash ready to pay my bill, but there was a little sign on the table that provided information on all the interest-free splits available to anyone making payments. Now, while I personally didn't need it since my bill was only like 2 million won, I can imagine that somebody with a 10 million won bill would benefit from splitting it over, say, 5 months for free, or 5 payments of 2 million won over the course of 5 months through the Gwangju-Uneng card, which is what was given the best benefit at the time of my checkout. But with all of these great benefits, the slope is slippery as always, particularly for those who are not experienced budgeters, so let's get to that. Now, payments and their feeless tag only really apply to a split where the buyer pays the debts on time. However, extra cash in pocket can quickly lead to customers overestimating their access to capital and overspending. I mean, it's the same thing as the credit trap, really. Credit and money really aren't the same thing. Spending credit is like spending your future money, since in the long run you'll have to pay it back in the future. So, without actively writing down and reminding yourself that you already owe small payments that are split over a few months, it's very easy to spend into your credit and then take the cash that you hold onto and spend that as well, which would inevitably leave you cash strapped in the future, which would again force you to spend more credit since you don't have the cash that you were supposed to use to pay back your credit. Basically, if you have money on your credit, that just means that if you make that amount of money in the future, that is not your money. Now, if we add split payments to the mix, falling deep into the trap just becomes all the more likely. So Here's a 3-step solution for those of you with a credit card here in Korea that are thinking of using 할부. Step 1. Don't use 할부 on anything that you would regularly buy. It's the simplest rule of personal finance, really. Only spend what you have, and don't give yourself opportunities to trick yourself into thinking you have more than you do. Ultimately, keeping track of what you have is far easier if you only think about it in the short term rather than what you will have in the midterm. 2. If you do choose to use 할부, make sure you write it into your future budgets. Now, this of course assumes that everybody is budgeting, but if not, then just write it down somewhere where you will definitely see it. Maybe write it into your calendar on the day before you're supposed to pay your credit, or basically put a reminder like every week or some shit. If you're a person with a whiteboard, put it on the whiteboard. If you're a person with a fridge, write it on the fridge. Do something to make sure that you don't forget. And 3, if you choose split payments, keep the cash unless you have to spend it. Now, of course, there are different cases depending on how much the credit is and how much your income is, but really, just remembering that you already spent that money is one of the best ways to make sure that you don't double up your expenses just because you have cash in your pocket. And there you have it. Now, to quickly review, let's go with some of the terms that we learned today. We have 일시불, which means lump sum payments, or in this case, single full payments. We also said 할부, which is what we were talking about mostly, which are monthly installment payment plans or split payments. And finally, we have 무이자, which means interest-free. A useful thing to know is that mu in Korean, when used as a prefix, means to not have something or to be without something, and ija means interest, thus 1 + 1 = 2, and 무이자 means no interest. Similarly, the word 무료 means no fee, which also means free. That's another one that we talked about because in our last video we mentioned that 료 means fee. Alright, finally, for practical use, here's an example of the 할부 menu for my go-to clothes shopping mall online, which is 무신사. As you can see at the top of the menu, you have 일시불. This is your standard payment system. Under it, you have a list of potential money payment options. Generally, this split payment service isn't feeless. However, at the time of this posting, they're having an event for Hyundai card holders who get up to 3 months 무이자. Now, based on my 3 rules above, I personally wouldn't suggest using this option even if you somehow do have a Hyundai card, but if you do, then you would be able to go interest-free for a 3-month split with any purchase over 50,000 won. All you have to do is click here to choose Hyundai card, and here to open the menu on the left. Alright fam, that's it for me. I really hope this helps. I'll catch you soon. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section below. Take it easy fam. Peace.